Christ is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for July 22nd, 2025. Well, I hope this finds you all ready to go for the day, all rested up, ramping up on those earnings today and heading toward those big tech reports coming up on Wednesday. So how about we dig in here and see what happened overnight. First off, if we take a look at the overnight action, we had a little bit of a mix in Asian markets last night. Australia closed up $9, 0.10%. Hong Kong was up 135.89 or 0.54%. We saw South Korea down 40.87 at 1.27%. The Nikkei was down 44.19 or 0.11%. India was lower by 29.80, 0.12%. And Shanghai was higher by 2207 or 0.62%. If we take a look at European markets this morning, we've got a little mix going on there with the DAX falling substantially, down $216.16 here this morning, 0.91%. We've got the FTSE a little bit higher by $3.36 or 0.04%, and the CAC is falling down 50.94 or 0.65% this morning. If we take a look at U.S. futures, well, U.S. futures are kind of flat here this morning to just a little bit lower. Right now, Dow futures are up $3. We've got S&P 500 futures down $5.75. NASDAQ futures kind of leading the way lower, 51.25 lower here this morning at this moment. If we take a look at what's going on in those bond prices, we have bonds just a little bit mixed as well. 30-year bond is coming back up a little bit. It's at $4.96. The 10-year bond just a tiny bit lower here at $4.39%. 30-year is 4.96%, and the 2-year is coming in at 4.86% this morning. Now, interestingly enough, we would think we might see a little bit of an increase in the dollar. So far, that's not the case. U.S. dollar is down just ever so slightly, a little over 3 cents here this morning. Trying to still in that process in here to see, after breaking this downtrend, if we can hold a higher low in here. And you can see what I just finished up there is that possibility of an inverted head and shoulders pattern. That's if it can hold. We'll want to be watching that pretty closely, that possibility that we could just continue to push back and even make new lows in the dollar. Now, if we take a look at what's going on here in precious metals, we've got precious metals lower here today. Gold pulling back just a little bit, $8.30 an ounce after a big booming move yesterday to the upside. And silver is also taking a little bit of rest, pulling back here this morning. Right now, we've got silver futures down 20 cents at $39.13 an ounce, and gold is coming in at $33.97.90. an ounce. So kind of keep an eye on those precious metals. Now we've got copper still trying to move to the upside here this morning. Copper up about 2 cents here on the day. So keep an eye on that COPX. Remember the pattern that I trade, this pushback in here, we broke underneath this support. So recovering that as support is the first step, and then the proof that we can hold that area as support, and that resumes the upside trend. And by the way, guys, if you kind of pay attention to those patterns, it's the same pattern that brought us up out of this bottom, and it's the same pattern that follows us through. When we break a support, we rally back up and hold, and we can move on higher. When you follow that pattern and you're careful in there instead of predicting, you will win more trades. Trust me on that. With a win-loss ratio that has been over 70% for a long time, following these simple patterns, you can improve that win-loss ratio pretty dramatically, and it's not that hard to do. Let's take a look at what we've got going on here in platinum. Platinum is lower here this morning by $19.30, just taking a little bit of rest here after an amazing run to the upside. And palladium also pulling back just a little bit after an amazing run up, $16.90 lower here this morning per ounce. If we take a quick look at what's going on in cryptos here this morning, we have Bitcoin moving higher here this morning, up $1,711 a coin, trying to get some energy going. We're reversing roles here because yesterday it was just the opposite of this. Bitcoin was down and Ether was up. Well, now Bitcoin is up and Ether is down, $55.76 a coin here this morning after just an amazing run to the upside there on that. A little bit of mix in those cryptos this morning. And last but not least, let's take a look at oil here this morning. We've got oil just a little bit lower here, down 47.5 cents a barrel here this morning. You can see in the producers, we're breaking support. We're breaking this upside trend here this morning, coming in at 65.47 a barrel. If we take a look at USO, you can see USO's trying to hang in there, but watch this carefully if it falls off this ledge. Brent crude at the moment, let's see, 68.69 a barrel, also lower on the day, and natural gas continuing to sell off. We had such a nice run to the upside, but boy, we're selling off quickly and hard here in natural gas. Natural gas down a little over 6 cents here this morning. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Tuesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these index charts, see if we can glean just a little bit of information about how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at the charts for what they are, not for what we want them to be, and really try to shake off that bias and look at the details here in this price action. So first off, as you can see, the diamonds, we're still trying to get up here through these all-time highs. And unfortunately yesterday, and I mentioned this yesterday in the morning prep, with breadth being so low, watch for the potential whipsaw. And boy, we saw breadth continuing to fall yesterday, and we rallied up nicely, but then by the end of the day, we faded all the way back in that whipsaw. And if you remember, I continue to say be really careful about chasing already extended stocks because of that potential, and then to make sure that you are paying close attention to the risk. Stay with the trend, but make sure you have a clear understanding of where your risk is in that trade, and be prepared to have a plan in case those bears really start to pick up. Now, we haven't really seen any damage in the technicals of these charts, so stay with the trend, and once again, just be really cognizant of the risk that you're taking in case the bears were to pick up and do something here. Now, looking at the Dow here, you can see if the bulls can find inspiration today, well, pushing back up right through here, we're going to have to deal with that price resistance right here first, last 3 days, and then see if we can push on beyond that to come up here and test some of these next levels of resistance in the chart. If the bears were to have anything to say, and this could be important, if we were to lose this area of price support right in here, if the bears push that back down into here, that could really raise a little bit of concern, and we may have to pop down, through those lows of the last couple of days, and that might bring in some bears with a little bit of strength. So watch that carefully. If we break down through there, then we have that possibility we could push on back down, maybe test the low of that big black candle, and give us a good solid test of this upside trend. Breaking below there is where some fear would probably come up in the market. If we take a look at our SPY, boy, you can't see that in the SPY right now. As long as it's tech, we're willing to buy it, and we're willing to buy it at almost any price. Just keep pushing and pushing and pushing into that big tech. So blue sky above here on tech. Unfortunately, we left maybe just a little bit of an uncertain candle in here after popping to new record highs and then fading back. We still ended up closing at a new record high because of the gap up here, but watch that closely. What's going to be really important here is the follow through. If those bulls follow through and push this right back through up here, then no harm, no foul. That's nothing, nothing at all to worry about. If, however, the bears were able to follow through and we start pushing down through these levels, that's where this might have a little bit more meaning, just being a little bit of a toppy situation. Now, it could be that we just slip into a little bit of rest here as we wait for those big tech reports on Wednesday. So watch that carefully. Maybe we're just going to get a little choppy resting period here in the SPY as we wait. But if those bears were to get going, just know that we could push back here quite a bit. Some pretty big point moves are possible if those bears were to kick up. One thing you want to remember in all of our indexes is just how far elevated we are away from our major moving averages, and we haven't had a test in those major moving averages in the SPY here since May. It's just been run to the upside, so keep that in mind. If the bears do engage, big point moves are possible. Now our QQQ, also very, very strong, although we did catch a little bit of pullback in the QQQ yesterday. It's all bulls all the time, just continuing to stretch up. Blue sky above, no resistance to the upside. If the bulls can push on through, then pushing right up through this area here and then right back into those all-time high prints. So watch that carefully. Seems like a very strong possibility that could occur. With a little bit of bearishness that we're seeing this morning, we're going to want to watch yesterday's low. Breaking yesterday's low could raise a little bit of worry here in the market, and then we would start progressing back down through these levels in the chart. And maybe sliding that trend here just a little bit. Now, I don't know that I would worry terribly about that because I could readjust this trend out here, and we could still hold right into that area heading into those big tech reports. So no particular worries there on QQQ, just the extension in here, and perhaps the worry that these big techs could report well, just like we saw on Netflix, but still fade because it's just not enough to support current prices. Let's take a look at IWM. IWM, just a little bit of bearishness here, and the only index that really came in with a follow through to the downside after that dark cloud cover candle here on IWM, pushing through just a little bit to the downside, came back down here, tested this area of price support, bounced before the close to hold above that. But here again, just like the diamonds, we have kind of that critical level here that we'll want to be watching. This morning we are testing that pretty carefully. We'll want to watch this morning, because if the bears were to push this on through and break this down, that's where we might get a little bit of fear popping up in the IWM. Watch that carefully. We might push down through these levels here if that is the case. If the bulls shake this off and we bounce right back up, which is certainly doable in this market, and push right back up, let's start watching an area right through there, see if we can pop back through that area here in the chart, and then progress on up to these recent highs. Let's take a look at our VIX. Now, our VIX yesterday started higher, pushed all the way down, had a bearish engulfing candle going, and then with that selling at the end of the day, started to rally back up. Now, the only thing that's really I'm watching here pretty carefully is that possibility that we could still catch a little bit of a lower high in here. And remember, it's always the lower high where we end up with selling that really picks up. So you can see it in this pattern here. That stretch up, not nearly as important as that hold of that lower high. And then we push up. We had this hold right in here, push up, hold, and then pushing on higher. That's where real selling begins. So watch that carefully. If we were to really kick up in here, you could understand why that pattern is so important. But that being said, the way the bulls have been acting, and with big tech reports, I see no reason to believe why they can't push this right back down through this area and be down here retesting these lows if those bulls can get going here on the day. If the bears have anything to say and we were to push back up from here, we again will be watching this area of price resistance here in the chart to see if it can pop on through. If it does pop on through up here, then watch that carefully, because then we really could start gaining a little bit of ground on those bears. Now our T20s, our T2122 was pushing good yesterday for a little bit, and then we ended up fading back here. You can see we're pretty close to the middle. We're kind of straddling the fence as we head toward those big tech reports on Wednesday. We've got about an equal area here for the bulls to move to the upside as we do the bears to the downside. Kind of all depends on who picks up some energy here today. And it's possible neither one will pick up energy today, as everyone's just kind of waiting and wondering what those big tech reports could do. So watch that carefully in here on the day, kind of in the middle of the road. If we take a look at our T2108, now our T2108 did pull back a little bit yesterday. Why can't I get it? There we go. T2108 pulling back here just a little bit, but I don't see any major problem here. Now, clearly, we got this little tiny downturn going on here, but, you know, I can also draw this as a potential upside trend, and we're just in a wedging pattern here in the chart. We're kind of locked between 60% and 50% in that area. If the bulls can find inspiration here, we need to see probably a break of that 60% area of the chart. And if the bears have anything to say, we probably need to see a break of that 50% area to really start changing this pattern in here. So watch that closely. 40 stocks above their 40-day moving average falling below 50% could also bring in a little bit more selling. If we take a look at our T2107, percentage of stocks above the 200-day moving average. No major problems here. Beautiful upside trend. We're holding in here above 40% of the stocks above their 200. We're finding a little bit of resistance, a little bit of difficulty getting up through 45%. Once again, maybe that little bit of wedging pattern. Could be nothing more of just a waiting pattern, waiting on those big tech reports to start rolling in, see how we perform there. So watch that carefully. T2101 continues to be my concern. T2101 was lower yesterday, and particularly when the bulls were pushing higher, we really saw T2101 kind of stretching to the downside here. Then as the bears started to sell off in that whipsaw, we saw that come back up and give this a little bit of an upside hook. Now, if we get a bearish move today and we see an increase in breadth, that's something to be watching for. If the bears really were to get going and the breadth starts coming up, we'll want to watch that carefully because the bears may be gaining a little bit of energy on that. If, however, we see a little pushback here today, nothing changes here in breadth or breadth goes lower, then nothing to worry about on that bearish side. Or if the bulls come in and really start pushing this back to the upside based on earnings or things like that, well, maybe we can see that breadth pick up here on the bullish side as well. So watch that closely. Now remember, still lots and lots of companies in the blackout period here. And of course, all of our big techs and things like that, the big spenders on corporate buybacks are in their blackout period. They can't do anything in here, so watch that carefully. Breadth could remain weak for a little while. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And our economic calendar, we definitely have a light day going on. Probably the most notable, obviously, is going to be this Jerome Powell will be out there speaking this morning right at market open. Watch that closely depending on what he says. We know can move the market, so keep an eye on that. We got a Richmond Fed manufacturing number coming up here at 10, and then after that, bond announcements, a bond auction, Bauman will be speaking, and then money supply at the end of the day. As you're planning forward, keep in mind here on Wednesday, we've got our normal mortgage applications, existing home sales, Atlanta Business Fed expectations on inflation, and that petroleum status number with, of course, more bond auctions. We do that pretty much every day because if we don't keep feeding the debt here, well, things will fall apart pretty quickly. So watch that carefully. Let's take a look at what we have going on here on our earnings calendar. And our earnings calendar, well, it's getting a little bit busier. I can't cover all these every morning, so make sure you pause the video if you want to take a look at those list of notables, screenshot that, and then you'll have that full list for the day. Now, keeping in mind, there are stocks, more stocks in this reporting. These are the ones that qualify on that notable list. Don't have that really, really low prices or really, really low volume to keep them in that notable list. Let's take a look at a couple of these here this morning. Coca-Cola reporting here today. Still trying to challenge that downtrend, still trying to get up through there. We've got BMY. No real action in on that. General Motors is moving lower here this morning. Disappointing some folks, I'm sure, on that one. If we take a look, we've got Hope reporting here today. No action in there yet on that. We've got Lockheed Martin reporting here today. Philip Morris also reporting here today. So keep an eye on these as these reports come out. Watch those closely. This afternoon, we will be looking at things like OCB reporting, ISRG will be in there. We've got Manhattan reporting here today, SAP, TXN, Texas Instruments, so keep an eye on those this afternoon. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube. Also, click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, that'd be click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to continue to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who takes the time to do that. I truly appreciate it. And I just want to remind everyone that in the description of the video, we still have that $7 trial going on. If you have any interest in what we do in Right Way Options, right now we're carrying quite a few positions with really strong profits. If we can help you with your trading, give us a shot for $7 for a full month, and we would love to see if we can help you with your trading and improve your trading ratios as well. Let's take a look at some of these stocks that could be setting up. Remember, everyone, they're not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence and be very, very careful in this market. Like I said, stay with the upside trend, but make sure you have a plan to protect yourself if the market were to start really coming down. First off, let's take a look at some of this stuff in uranium. We're continuing to see uranium hold very strong. We're getting a little bit of resting pullback in there. That's exactly what we need in CCJ. A little resting pullback in here sets up that next opportunity for the upside. So watch that carefully in CCJ. You can take a look at others in that area. Just pulling back a little bit after an amazing run to the upside. Just look for a little rest in there, that next opportunity. I'm holding UEC, 3 days, a little bit of rest in here. I'll be watching for that next opportunity, potentially adding to this if it continues that kind of bullishness. So keep an eye on some of those uranium type plays. They have been really strong, looking very, very good as big tech pulls out all the stops to create enough power to power their massive AI data centers. So watch that carefully here. With that in mind too, I would keep an eye on BTU. Now remember, BTU, I have a bias here. I own this, and we're seeing BTU showing some strength here, at least in the pre-market this morning, trying to pump on up. Keep an eye on that. I wouldn't chase it at this point. Little rest, a little pullback. Then I might have an interest in picking that up. But BTU on the energy side really starting to show some good signs here in the market. Watch that carefully. Other than things like that, let's take a look at GE. Now, GE, I think, is setting up a nice little pattern here. I did place an alert on this. We do have to remember that any stock you look at right now, make sure you take a look at when the next earnings date is. We got plenty of time here on GE, no worries there. So this little resting pullback in here, watch for that next opportunity for that to push on through to the upside. Really good looking pattern overall. Still keeping an eye on old Mickey D's, even though we did slip this upside trend and this fade back. So I'm not as encouraged on this at the moment. Reporting on next month on the 6th, so watch that closely here on Mickey D's. Boeing continues to look very, very strong. Very bullish pattern setting up, but unfortunately this report is coming up on the 29th, so be careful with this one. Of course, we could see this pop through to the upside on earnings, but also go to the downside. So maybe a short little quick upside trade in here if the bulls get going on that headed into earnings. Worth keeping an eye on. Got to keep an eye on Caterpillar here as well. Cat has been holding really, really strong. Little rest the last couple of days coming back into this support. Maybe have to slide out here to trend. keeping in mind that earnings on the 5th of next month. Watch that carefully. And I don't think you can rule out, John Deere and CMI could easily get something going here as well on that heavy equipment side. You can see CMI pulling back yesterday a little bit after a good run to the upside, but any rest in here could set up that next opportunity. Keep an eye on Pinterest. Boy, it took a long time for this Pinterest, after it popped this alert, to get something going. Got an upgrade yesterday, pushed up right into this next resistance all at once. But I'd keep an eye on Pinterest, still holding in there. Maybe a little bit of rest now against that resistance. We'll see if that can maybe push on through to the upside. Guys, keep an eye on a Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree continues to perform this beautiful upside trend. There's nothing in there on that chart that doesn't continue to shout bullishness. Breaking through some resistance up here, may have to rest a little bit now, but watch that carefully on Dollar Tree, looking really good. Keep an eye on XYZ. XYZ is another chart that I hold. XYZ is going to be placed in the S&P 500. It's going to be replacing Hess, that was recently acquired by CVX. So keep an eye on this. Nice little stretch here to the upside. A little rest or pullback would set up a nice opportunity there in block. Watch that carefully. Other charts out there, you might want to take a look at things like AMBA. AMBA, nice little resting consolidation in here, trying to move on through to the upside. All we need is just a little bit of bullish push in here, and I think that could push right on up through there. GLW continues to look very good. A great setup in here. I would be watching that carefully. You can see these have been alerts in here, and we're just continuing to crank this right on through to the upside. And remember, Corning produces all of the glass for those devices that we carry around in our hands and our pockets all the time, and we're constantly looking at dinner and those kind of things. We'll want to be watching that closely, because if those sales of those products can't continue to stay strong, I would expect that to move right on higher here. That being said, let's take a look at Apple. Apple pushed up yesterday, ended up with a little bit of a shooting star type pattern in there, but still showing strength. Remember, this one doesn't report until the 31st, but watch that carefully in here. Apple showing a very, very bullish pattern, trying to hold in there nicely. Google had a great day yesterday, really stretching here, helped the market probably is about as much as any of the big techs out there yesterday. Really big stretch in there. Now a little rest or pullback. I'd be watching for something in there. Remember, moving toward that earnings report tomorrow, so I wouldn't want to chase it here at the moment. So there's a few stocks for you to pay attention to. The video's getting a little bit long. I could do this for the next hour, just showing you stock after stock after stock that are in bullish patterns, but you can find those as well. If you have any questions, feel free to place that in the comments below, and I will see you all back here bright and early tomorrow morning. Be careful, be safe, and as always, I wish you all the very best.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Rideways my ranch on the trader's trail. Trading with heart where the profits prevail.